Hello everyone, Luke here, welcome back to the channel. So if you haven't gathered already, today's video is going to be on emergency C batteries. And of course, they're very popular in places like Japan, they're installed in ships, they're installed in emergency phone kiosks, and, well, too right to be honest, because they're on earthquake islands, so having these emergency batteries, well, that's just a plus in my book. But before we actually go too far into detail, let me show you something cool. So I'm going to have to activate vlogger mode because I've actually forgotten to get my tripod, which is a big shame. So you've got to bear in mind with the shaky camera work for a second. But let me show you where I am. So we are at the coast, and that's because today's video is going to be on emergency C batteries. So my original idea was to connect up straight to the pier, which is over there, and we can hopefully actually be able to get a current to run something. But as you can see, the tide is slowly coming in, and that is about, well, let's say about a foot deep over there, and I'm not prepared to get completely wet. So I have got a secondary plan. And my secondary plan is to use our carbon rod and some magnesium to create an emergency C battery. So what I'm actually going to do is walk right up to the edge where the tide's coming in. I'm going to submerge both pieces under the water, and I'm going to connect to it using my multimeter. And I've also got a tiny motor that we can actually try and run. So let me get set up and I'll show you what it looks like.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
So right here is my little setup, and when we do get a big wave, the whole thing does actually submerge in water, and I made sure that this section right here is definitely got loads of seawater in it. So what I'm going to do is connect it up to my multimeter first and then see what actually happens. Okie dokie, so my multimeter is here. I've got the negative connected to my magnesium, and now the positive is going to get connected to my carbon rod. So let me get that connected up like so, and let's check the voltage. Wowzers, so about 0.8 of a volt. Okay, so right here I've got my motor. My wires are coming off. I'm going to take it off my multimeter, which is reading about 0.75 of a volt, and let's see if we can actually spin this thing up. Whoa, did you see that? Wowzers!
Hey, what is that? Microphone?
So now that we're back in the office, there was one thing that I forgot to mention in that very last clip, and that was if I was to bring a capacitor with me and connected that up before I connected it up to the motor, that would have just kept spinning and spinning and spinning. But the thing that I'm really impressed with was the fact how it's actually able to spin just using that raw power. So that was just awesome, and it's a shame that the tide actually come a little bit too far in that I wasn't actually able to get to the pier, so I had to use magnesium instead of actually connecting up to them metal legs. But regardless, we actually managed to get a really good result of around 0.75 of a volt, and off camera I got it to around, well, 0.8, and I'm absolutely devastated that I didn't get that on film. So with that being said, how does this actually work? So how this works in its essence is that the seawater will actually rot the magnesium the same way that it would actually rot or rust a piece of iron. So the seawater is working a little bit like an electrolyte. The only difference is that magnesium rots a lot quicker, therefore you're actually able to get a bit more energy out of it. And how you're actually able to get this power out is by using the carbon rod. So you have your piece of magnesium that's rotting in the seawater, you would have your carbon rod next to it, and they would act like the anode and the cathode, therefore you're actually able to take the power out of it, thus that makes the battery. So the idea is to build 4 to 6 individual emergency C battery cells. That way we can connect them up together, put them through a capacitor bank or something similar, and hopefully run something real. And I'm saying real with quotation marks. So what we actually have to do, go downstairs, source the materials, get some seawater, and actually build these things up. Rightio, so now we're down in the workshop and we're actually well away with these cells. So what I did is I managed to gather some sand and let this dry overnight. So I've actually got something to stick my rods into. I've now got 4 iron rods, And I would have used magnesium, but we haven't got a lot of it, nor at specific lengths. And I've got my 4 carbon rods right here. And if you're interested in actually how to salvage carbon rods, make sure that you keep an eye out on this channel for the next coming days, because I've got a video in store. And I've also got some seawater here that I managed to gather. So what I've actually got to do next is cut out the holes on my lid so I can actually stick my carbon rod and my iron rod through it. And as you can see, I've already got that marked out. So let's drill that out right now. And there we go. These are my 4 cells made up, and I've got my seawater right here. So what I'm going to do is top them right up as well, and we're going to connect them in series. So going from the positive to the negative, positive to the negative, positive to the negative, all the way down to see what we can actually get out of this. But first I want to test the individual cell, and then I'll actually give you a close-up of what these look like, because I do think they look really cool. So, let's top them up. Okay, so before we connect all of these up in series, I want to test one of these cells to see what kind of ballpark region we're actually going to get out of it. So if I put this in here like that, make sure that's nicely shut. And now if we connect it up to our multimeter, and we're chilling at around 0.5 of a volt, which means we should get around 2 volts out of this entire setup. So let's connect it up in series and actually see if that is true. Rightio, so I've connected all of these cells up into series and we're getting a result of around 2.1 of a volt. That is actually pretty good. So I've got a capacitor right here, and I've also got a few LEDs and a few other things that we can try to light up. So what I'm going to do is connect this up to the capacitor, leave it to charge for a while, and then we can actually run some cool stuff off it. Rightio, so everything's coming off this capacitor to this motor right here, and if you remember in my emergency C battery video, we managed to get that spinning for a split second. So anything longer than a couple seconds, well, that's going to be a win in my book. So let me connect it up. Oh, crumbs. And now that's honestly just spinning away. Right, so I've got my iPhone recording this. I'm actually going to go sort some other things out, and I'm going to come back down once that has actually stopped spinning. So honestly, it's been around 10 minutes and this is showing no signs of slowing down. So that's been spinning away for the good part of around 25 minutes to half an hour, and it's absolutely showing no signs of stopping. So that is a good thing. But I felt like this was definitely worth exploring, especially as a bit of a follow-up from my emergency C battery, because I thought, well, having separate containers connecting up in series, we're going to get a higher output of voltage and more amperage X, Y, and Z.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. See you later. Bye.
And there we go, that was a bit of fun, and I felt like I just had to explore this myself, and I might even do another follow-up on this depending on where my brain goes with it. But with that being said, that does bring me to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer them all. Anyway guys, I hope you have the most fantastic day, and I'll see you later.